Good morning everyone, it's 8 AM in the morning and it's looking really beautiful down here. And today I'm meeting up with Richard Hemery. I haven't seen Richard for a while and he is a real pottery expert, known as the Professor of Pottery, and he knows pretty much everything there is to know about Thames pottery and probably every other pottery. So the tide's on the way out. I think it's low tide at about 10:15 AM. So we've got a good couple of hours to see what the tide has thrown out for us. And here he is, Richard Hemery, coming down the steps with his bag.
Steps. Morning, Nick. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well.
Great.
Thanks for meeting up with me, Richard. It's been a little while, hasn't it?
It's always a pleasure to come to the Thames, but this is the first time I've been to central London for nearly 6 months.
Oh gosh, is it? Is this your first time since the
I went
lockdown?
to Putney with Tobias
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, but this is the first time I've used public transport and come to central London for nearly 6 months.
Gosh, so quite an expedition.
Nice to be back.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, but I'm sure most of you do, this is Richard Hemery, and Richard is a mudlark, and he's also very well versed in the knowledge of pottery, let's say. He's known as the Professor of Pottery, and he can bring to life pottery by explaining where it came from and what might have been in it. So this is just brilliant because there's a lot of pottery on the Thames foreshore and it's something that I still am a little bit nervous about.
Okay, don't be afraid to ask.
The first thing I've spotted is hanging up over here. What is it? Oh my goodness, look! It looks like a possible candidate for the Thames Tideline Art Thames Orphanage. Isn't that strange? I think it's got a little face underneath this hair.
It looks deliberately placed there, doesn't it?
Actually, yeah, you're right, it does. It looks like it's seen a couple of tides, a bit like the poor pirates that were hung on the gibbet where the tides come up and down.
Yeti or something, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'll leave it there and then maybe get it on the way back. So Richard's already picking up pieces of history.
Yes.
What have you got there?
It's medieval Surreyware, whiteware, buff-coloured clay, about 1350 to 1500.
1350, can I have that?
Yes, yeah, sure.
1350 to 1500, and that's actually somebody's fingerprint that
Yes.
comes from the 14th century, possibly.
Yeah, that's the potter's finger marks, and sometimes you can get fingernail marks on the base, you know, where they've squeezed, and
Isn't that incredible?
just helps the pot and be more stable on a sort of rough floor.
Well, well done. You're off to a flying start.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Now, I've just pulled this piece of pottery out of the mud. It's got an interesting little rim at the base there. I shall show that to Richard. See what he thinks. I've got something to run by you here, Richard. This here, I just like the frilly
Fantastic.
base.
That is a fantastic find.
Is it?
Yes.
It's a fantastic find!
It's a German stoneware drinking jug,
Oh,
but it's 16th century.
my
so
goodness,
it's the
that
ones
is...
before the Bartman face jugs.
That's
and it has
before.
that little frilled edges. And if you go into all the old paintings, like the peasant wedding,
Yes.
there's people using these sort of jugs in the
Gosh.
16th century. And they found them on the Mary Rose as well. So
Oh my
1547, wasn't it?
So 16th century
Yeah, German stoneware drinking jug.
drinking jug.
Yeah, from Germany, Raren, that sort of industry.
Well, just look at that. Something 16th century. Spotted a coin here, Richard. Down here, look.
Well spotted.
So let's have a look and see
The
what it
metal detectors don't get everything.
So let's see what it is. It's quite thin.
It is thin, isn't it?
Yeah. Or hopefully it's not going to be so worn that we won't be able to see Well, I
It's
don't.
quite worn.
Oh, hang on. It's Is it Victoria?
No, that's William
oh.
III. So fresh up, that is William III, which is what, 1689 to 1702, I think. But that's beautiful. What is it, silver or is it copper? Or?
I don't know, but look at that wonderful.
That is just insane.
That wonderful profile there. Now Richard just filmed me extracting this little coin, which is apparently William III, and I'm absolutely thrilled. Look at that. Stunning. What have you got there, Richard?
A little grey bit of clay,
Yeah.
which from the shape of the rim being rounded, I'm pretty sure is Roman greyware, maybe from Alice Holt or Hertfordshire, somewhere like that. So yeah, just the rim of a humble storage pot, but taking us back to Roman London,
Yeah.
which is a nice
Can you
trip.
explain a little bit about why we get a significant amount of Roman in this area?
Well, the city of London, the original square mile, was the original Roman settlement.
Right. Okay.
So all the suburbs weren't settled by the Romans. So you do get a lot of thing, and also because they embanked the foreshore in Victorian times,
Yeah.
when they were digging out all the office buildings and all the basements, they wouldn't do any archaeology. They just dig out the soil, dump it behind the revetments, and now of course that's eroding, and you do find a lot of Roman pottery in this part of the foreshore, which I think probably comes from the Victorian basements because it's not stratified or
Right.
archaeologically
Okay.
placed.
Super. So all that history all jumbled up on the foreshore.
Absolutely.
What's this? Ooh, now what's that? Now, is that a tooth? Right.
So Nick, what do you think you picked up there? Sharp-eyed Nick.
Well, I picked up this, and initially I thought it was a boar tusk.
Yes. It's
But
a shape,
now,
isn't it?
yeah, if you have a look at it there, it's very, very sharp. But now I'm wondering whether it could possibly be a bear claw. I mean, I'm
Yes.
kind of hoping that
Definitely
it
that
is
shape
like
and
a,
size.
a bear claw. There used to be some bear baiting pits across the river, and as you said earlier, that's where bears were killed for their grease, weren't they? So
Yeah, that's right.
it's either a bear claw or a...
Tudor times onwards, good family entertainment, baiting bears with dogs. Small but interesting, small but perfectly formed. That's a bit of Roman hunt cup.
Oh,
So it's colour coded, and then they've trailed thick slip there. That's the back of an animal, probably.
okay.
So they had these little drinking cups, and they would have hunting dogs chasing round deer or hares or round the cup.
Okay, and they used to drink ale in it, I suppose, or wine.
Yes, wine or ale. Yes, that's right. A little bit of medieval pottery, but with some.
Oh, hang on a moment, let's
Yeah.
wait for that helicopter to go over there. How dare it? They know that we're busy filming.
Yes, right. How inconsiderate.
Yeah. My goodness, what's going on? Okay, right.
So a bit of medieval pottery, you can tell by the fabric, but very thin, and it's got that feathering pattern on
yeah.
it. Rows of feathers going down a jug. So it's probably a highly decorated jug, which is a bit more older medieval, so sort of 1250 to 1350.
12:30 to
Yeah, 1250 to 1350, that sort of
Okay.
age bracket. So the whole surface of the jug would be covered in these little leaves or feathers, and it would have made a very nice effect.
Lovely. So it might have been on the table of someone a little bit richer than your usual peasant.
Definitely, yeah, definitely a higher status thing. So like a tavern
Yeah.
or an inn, or as you say, yes, merchant's house,
Yeah.
the lord or lady or the bishop, someone like that to have his drink served out of.
Oh, wonderful.
Right, we have found a piece of pottery that no self-respecting Roman housewife would be without. So it is mortarium.
Oh, that's a piece of mortarium, yes, with the little bits of flint.
Yeah, clear on one side, that's the outside face, but on the inside it's got a coating of grits, probably flint. They've smoothed down with the hundreds of years of rolling around in the river, but they would have been proud of the surface, and then you could use this vessel. It's got a thick rim that you could grip hold of, and then you could grind your fish sauce, your herbs, and olive oil to make a lovely sauce or dish, and then there's a spout on it to pour it out and serve it.
Marvellous.
So another little bit of Roman London, but very diagnostic.
So those are Roman, or parts of Roman roof tiles?
Yes, and you do find a lot of these broken fragments at this part of the foreshore. So these are tegulae, so you have a tegula and a tegula, and you put them together on your roof, and then you have a curved tile which bridges the gap between the two and fits over the two rims there.
Okay.
And imbrex, and that makes your Roman roof, so you have layers of these going up. Very substantial tiles, so a complete roof is very heavy, it weighs tons and tons.
Yeah.
So you have to have quite a substantial building to hold them up. Simpler buildings were just thatched.
Okay, so tegula. And
Yes.
so two tegula is a tegulae.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Tegulae,
Your,
tegulum, tegular.
your Latin lesson for today. Yeah.
Excellent.
So
Thank
part
you.
of a Roman roof, just need to find a couple of thousand more, and then I can
Yeah,
build
then
an
we
extension.
could imagine that having a Roman roof. Look at this. This is a nice defined maker's mark on the spur of this pipe. There's an R and a W or an M. It's very nice. I've just seen another coin down here as well, but I have a feeling it's probably more of a modern one. Let's have a look. It's here. Yeah, it's 50 somethings. I can't quite make that out, but there's a nice bird on there. Now there's lots of 1700s pipe stems around here and a few bowls, but I just found a little piece of slightly later pipe stem. That'll be 19th, probably mid-19th century, and it's got part of a maker on it. And we'll be able to see where they come from too, so I'll have a closer look at that later. I absolutely love pipe stems with makers on. Oh, now that's nice. That's pretty, isn't it? I'm going to ask Richard about this. That's lovely. Got a nice piece of pottery here, Richard, I think. Yes, here.
Oh, that is beautiful. That's the Metropolitan slipware from Harlow in Essex. So that's really nice. Yeah,
Metropolitan slipware.
Metropolitan slipware, Harlow in Essex, 1630 to 1720.
Very nice.
Yes, it's got the beautiful trailed pattern on it. So
Lovely.
yeah, that's a really nice find.
Would that have come from a dish, a serving dish?
I think it's an open form, so a dish or a charger. And it's obviously a floral pattern, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
it's
a
very
flower with
pretty.
leaves underneath it. But yeah, if you find a whole piece, then you're talking Sotheby's or Christie's.
Oh, well,
Victoria and Albert Museum, that sort of
I'll keep
thing.
looking.
Yes, but it's a beautiful bit of English slipware.
Oh, thank you.
So this large chunky piece of pottery with a sort of white slip remains of on the outside is part of a post-medieval Spanish or possibly Portuguese olive oil jar.
Olive oil jar? My
Yeah.
goodness, like those huge ones on the shipwrecks.
Yeah, that's right. You find them on the sort of Spanish Armada shipwrecks, and in the New World, you know, wherever the Spanish went, they took their olive oil with them. So they're very large, hand-thrown containers, like the successors to the amphorae of the Roman period, made of the same sort of clay and the same sort of area. But instead of wine, it's more likely to be olive oil that they were transporting this time.
Very nice. Gosh, such a variety of things, isn't it?
Yeah, nice fit to find. Thank you.
I just picked up this little tiny round thing, and I think that it could be bone. I don't know what it is in bone. It's very small. Well, I think it's bone. It might not be. Just need to. I need to do a little bit of an investigation to find out what it is. Now, on the 13th of September in the afternoon, I'm doing a little talk about mudlarking finds related to food and drink. It's called A Mudlark's Feast, bringing to life Thames revelry and dining. And Richard has kindly brought along some pieces of pottery which relate to dining and the kitchen or people eating. There's so much pottery on the foreshore, and it's so linked to food and drink. So Richard has got some really nice bits here that he's just going to talk to us a little bit about and how they're related to the kitchen or the dining room.
Yeah, obviously pottery changes according to fashion, but also according to people's dietary habits.
Yeah.
So the way people ate and what they ate and drank is reflected in the pottery, and that's often a useful thing for dating it.
Yeah.
So starting with the Iron Age, I mean the Iron Age is just simple cooking pots, you know, bucket shaped, and that goes on for thousands of years. Just at the end of the Iron Age you start to get the elite, the tribal leaders, start to import things from the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
They import amphorae with wine, and they import the jugs and the little drinking cups to drink the wine out of, but that was purely an elite function. So you don't really get a lot of pottery evidence for food and drink until you get to the Roman period.
Right, okay.
Which is on my lap here.
Let's see. Okay, so that's Roman.
Yeah, I didn't bring any amphora shards with me because they're just too heavy and big. But once you decant your wine, you put it into a flagon. So this is like a round neck with the handles coming off the neck, and then quite a bulbous body, and you pour your wine into your cups through that. So Roman flagon.
Okay.
Tableware, obviously everyone's heard, if you've watched the Time Team, you've heard of the Samianware, and they always get inordinately excited when they find some. So yes, good slip-coated, fine-bodied, beautifully made tableware, open forms like bowls and plates, cups, jugs, mortaria. That's a beautiful moulded bit. It's got an archer on it with a palm tree.
Oh yes, lovely.
Probably hunting lions, I should think.
Doubtlessly.
Yeah. And then, like the bit we found earlier, a little hunt cup. So this is it don't look like it, but it's actually a hunting dog.
Oh.
And he'd be chasing a hare,
Yeah.
because there's no rabbits in the Roman Empire until the Normans introduced them. So rabbits are not a Roman thing. You get hares, but not rabbits. So he's chasing a rabbit or maybe a deer around this little drinking cup. So you pour it from your flagon into your drinking cup and have that. Some of them have mottos on them in Latin, like drink or fine wine, don't mix with water, you know, keep it strong, that sort of thing. And then the more humble pottery, cooking pots and storage vessels are still, you know, very simple, round-rimmed, grey, black wares, for the kitchen and to put in the fire. And they often get sooted.
I just love thinking of it on the table of a family back in Roman times, and now here you are holding it.
Yes, it's a real buzz to pick up anything like that.
Yeah.
But then after the Romans left, you get probably about 800 years where you just get cooking pots. Simple pottery, you put in the fire. That's a medieval example. It's got a bit of sooting round the rim. And then it'd just be a saggy bottomed thing that you'd nestle into the ashes of the fire and cook a stew with. So really in the medieval period you don't get individual plates, you don't get individual cups. You probably would eat off a bit of stale bread. If you were rich you might have something made of horn or wood, turned wood. And jugs. So you do get jugs obviously in the medieval period for serving liquids. This is a bit of a highly decorated jug where they roller stamped decoration onto it. So this would be about 1270 to 1350. Most of the medieval period just get very simple jugs, very simple cooking pots, until right at the end of the medieval period you start to get a little bit more sophistication in eating and drinking. So you get the bunghole system. So this would be at the base of a large pot, and it's for brewing. So you'd brew hops to make beer, and that really only comes in widespread in the 15th century, so the 1400s. And you start to get cooking pots with a rim seating. So instead of a plain rim like that, you'd get something with that shape that you can put a lid onto. So you're getting a little bit more sophisticated. You know, you can use it like a slow cooker perhaps, or to stew things. And you start to get imported from Germany in stoneware individual drinking jugs. So this would be served from a big jug into your own individual jug. So you get that coming in the 15th century, some 1450 onwards, and a little frilled base there. And this sort of heralds in the post-medieval period when you get a lot more sophistication and you start to get pewter, metal cooking pots, brass and iron much more frequently, so you get far fewer ceramic cooking pots. Move forward into the post-medieval period, then the classic cooking shape now becomes the pipkin. So you've got this three-legged fin, there's two legs, there would have been another leg there, and a little hollow handle. These would have had lids as well, so the hollow handle helps it to stay cool when you pick it up off the fire. But again, they're just meant to be pushed into the ashes of the fire to cook stews and sauces.
So those are both from pipkins?
Yes, obviously different sizes, which is why this is massive. But you get them in red clay and white clay. The borderware ones are closed off from the body. The London ones, the handle goes right through into the body. So yeah, pipkin runs through from the 16th century to the early 18th century, and you know, absolutely every household would have a range of sizes for cooking stews and sauces and various other dishes.
Right, we've moved now because it was getting a little bit of a hustle and bustle outside the old tavern there, wasn't it? So we are back, and we're what period of history are we on now?
Well, we've talked about the post-medieval stuff, so the pipkin being the classic cooking vessel of the early post-medieval period.
Yes, I noticed those.
The pipkin, which we looked at earlier, which is designed to sit actually in the ashes of the fire and cook a stew, a wet dish, was supplanted about 1700, and through the 18th century people's dietary habits and cooking habits change. So you move from a pipkin, which is making a wet dish, into baking dishes where you'd make a roast or a pie or something like that, and you'd more often have an oven in your house than a fireplace for cooking, and therefore you get the change and you get these wonderful Staffordshire slipware pie dishes and baking dishes, which often had crimped edges. Going to drink, wine was imported in these Bartman jugs, which are obviously famous for having the wide bellies and the little faces, bearded faces. I just noticed they were done by moulding a stamp which was carved in wood or plaster onto the clay. And this has been pressed twice, so this little gentleman's got 4 eyes.
Yeah, that's actually very true. It's pretty quite rare. I think Anna Borzello found one with 4 eyes.
I saw that. Yes, she did.
Yeah. So that must be quite unusual, actually.
I think it probably is. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with that. Really.
Yeah.
So yeah, bartman faces, bearded faces, importing wine, storing wine, serving wine. You did have individual drinking jugs as well, but these would more likely to be pottery in the early post-medieval period, and blackware with this very ribbed throwing marks. I bet that probably helped you to grip it while you were a bit half drunk.
Inebriated.
Yeah, exactly. And these would have had maybe 2 or even 3 handles coming off them. And they're called tigs, T-Y-G, and they're the classic drinking pots in the post-medieval redware, so anything from the late 16th to 18th century. You find a lot of these in London.
Marvellous. You've got a YouTube channel, haven't you?
Oh yes, I have. You can look me up, just Richard Hemery.
Yes, I highly recommend watching Richard's YouTubes, and they are full of very useful information about not only pottery, but lots of pottery. And also, you've got an Instagram account, haven't you?
I have. Thames_pottery.
Thames_pottery, there you are, quite easy to remember.
Yeah.
And also, just tell me a little bit about your book and where people can get it.
Oh yes, well I mean I started knowing very little about pottery, so I'd pick up things that looked old and I'd have no idea what they were. So about 15 years of research later, I'm now getting a little bit of a handle, if you'll excuse the pun, on identifying pottery, and I started writing notes and putting photographs together, and before I knew it I'd written a book.
As you do.
Yes. It's not in print yet, but you can download a PDF copy, check it out on eBay, Richard Hemery Pottery, and it cost a mere £2.99.
Oh well,
all your pottery questions will be answered.
An absolute bargain. So get on there, go onto eBay and download Richard's pottery book.
Thank you.
I almost forgot to recuperate the little pink thing, which is still hanging there on the chain, and I can't bear to think of it being dunked in another high tide. It's just not right. So I'm going to find a little space for it, whatever it is, in the Thames Tideline Art Toy Orphanage. Little drowned thing. Here we are. A little run through the washing machine and you'll be as good as new. Come on Richard, the tide's coming up. You've got to come back. Time to stop. Thank you very much for watching. I'm out in an old fort at the moment. I've been sheltering from the rain. I'm out with David Nolan. We've been exploring a very muddy island, and we're here in this very atmospheric, absolutely beautiful fort. As you can see, nature has totally taken it over, and it's kind of taken me over too, because I'm looking a bit like the wild woman of Borneo who's been dragged through a hedge backwards. But anyway, David has kindly agreed to be my photographer, film cameraman, so that I can do a quick roundup after my outing with Richard Hemery the other day, which was great. I always love meeting up with Richard. He's so knowledgeable about pottery. And so thank you very much for that, Richard. Now, I found during that outing what I had hoped was a bear claw. Here it is, for those of you who want to be reminded. I almost convinced myself it was a bear claw, but I have now consulted with the experts, and it is a boar's tooth, which is okay. I'll take a boar's tooth. And it's quite handy, actually, because I'm preparing my talk at the moment, the Mudlark's Feast, bringing to life Thames revelry and dining, which I'm doing on the 13th of September on Woods Quay, and I will be able to include boar, wild boar, and believe me, Henry VIII ate a lot of wild boar and peacock and puffins and all sorts. I've learnt a great deal whilst I've been preparing for this talk. On the subject of the talk, I've also got a really amazing collection of replica pipes, which I'm going to be bringing along with me. I shall put a photograph up on the screen now. They've been made by David Higgins, who's a member of the Society for Clay Pipe Research, who also makes these incredible replica pipes. And they're made to look like pipes from the 17th and the 18th century. And if you are at the event, you're going to have a chance to look at them, hold them, buy them, and even, if you so wish, to smoke one, because we're hoping to source some authentic tobacco that might have been smoked back during the 18th and the 17th century. I'll also have my collection of pipes that I found on the River Thames, and also we're hoping that another member of the Society for Clay Pipe Research will be there with his collection of Thames pipes too. So if you like clay pipes, it should be a really good event. There'll also be some food to taste as well. The head chef at Woods Quay is going to make some little tasters of some examples of food that people will have eaten back in Tudor times. So a little bit of puffin, a little bit of peacock, anyone? Earlier on I mentioned that I had some replica clay pipes, and here they are. Look, aren't they amazing? So this one is a 17th century clay pipe, let's say early 17th century, and this one is an 18th century pipe, probably 1740, 1750. So I'm going to offer one of these to David Nolan, who's here, to see him smoke it. It's going to be really good fun. He's got his tobacco, he's going to pop it in the bowl, and I'm going to film him smoking a clay pipe. And of course, I haven't forgotten. Here is what turns out to be a one-eared, there's the one ear, doesn't have another ear, fluffy little rabbit. And I don't think I have any other rabbits in the Thames Tideline Art Toy Orphanage. So this is our first, and she has had, or he has had a wash and a blow dry, and is looking rather fluffy, I think you'll agree, compared to the drowned state that he or she was in before. And underneath all this fluff there are eyes, 2 eyes, and also a little nose, which is just there. So this is the new edition, very happy in her new home with the Tideline Art Orphans from the Thames. I think that's it. The rain has stopped. We're going to be making our way off soon, back through the mud. Thanks again for watching, and thank you for your feedback and your comments on my videos. I appreciate them, as always, and I hope that you have a really good week ahead. So take care, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye-bye.
Cut.